How's it going, guys? This is John with Gamester81.com, and in this episode I'm going to show you some gameplay and talk a little bit more about a game that was unreleased for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and that is Hero Quest. So to my right, to your left, is the board game Hero Quest. It came out by Milton Bradley in 1989 with conjunction with Games Workshop, which, if you're familiar with tabletop gaming today, Games Workshop is still very huge, very popular, and they came up with this concept of Hero Quest. This eventually became part of the Warhammer fantasy world as well, which is part of Games Workshop. This is a fantastic adventure board game. I had a lot of fun playing this as a kid. I never really got big into Dungeons & Dragons, although this was something I was huge into growing up. But what's interesting is they did release a computer game for the Amiga, for PC, and Commodore 64, and called Hero Quest. And it was by Gremlin Software, and they had worked with Hasbro. Hasbro had published it, and Hasbro is the parent company of Milton Bradley. So to my left, to your right, this is what they call a reproduction copy. This game, as I mentioned before, was never released for the Nintendo Entertainment System. However, a good friend of mine, his name is Jason, he's got a great YouTube channel here called Protitus. I'll put a link below to his channel. He made this for me, and he sells these. This was great. He not only does this game, but he does a whole bunch of other reproduction carts, games that our fans translated. For example, Earthbound, that never came to the US, so that's translated into English from Japanese. Also games like Sweet Home, for example, he has reproduction carts for. So if you're interested in purchasing some of these reproduction carts, which he does a great job, he has a nice label, as you can see here. Everything else, I'll put a link to his YouTube channel below. I'm sure if you reach out to him, he'd be happy to oblige. But without any further ado, I'm going to show you some gameplay for Hero Quest. This is a prototype stage game, so this is a ROM that's unfinished, unpolished. This game is super hard, but it has a lot of potential, as you'll see from this video. And it plays very similar to the board game, as you would assume. So thanks for watching, guys, and let's take a closer look. Here is the title screen. I actually really like the music and the title screen so far. This game definitely showed a lot of promise. Hero Quest is a two-player game on the NES. Through the board game, it's 2 to 5 players. You can play more characters, but there are 4 characters to choose from. You have a barbarian, dwarf, elf, and wizard. They all have different attributes and abilities. For example, the barbarian and dwarf have a better short-range attack, while the elf and wizard, they can use some magic and have a better long-range attack. So it kind of depends on which character you prefer. The barbarian is probably the most well-rounded character, although in this game, he's very weak. He's only got a couple hit points, so I think there's a bug in the game. They really haven't completed the barbarian, so I don't usually play as him in this title. This game came out in 1991, and it's just a direct port basically from the PC versions. I'm not quite sure why this game was never released, but once you enter your names, there's 2 areas. You can buy items, and once you get money, you can purchase upgrades. A lot of RPG elements to this game. And as a wizard, I have 4 different magic spells. You got water, earth, fire, and wind. And with them combined, I get Captain Planet. Now I'm just playing, but there's different maps and quests. These quests and maps are the exact same that the board game has. There were different expansions available for the board game that added more quests and different items and villains, but unfortunately that's not included with this one. But the maps are exactly the same. You'll see in the very top corner there are two footprints. That's the kind of a die, so to speak, so you roll that and it's random. That's how many spots I can move, or spaces I can move. And you have to switch between characters while you're controlling both characters. So this is also, you can check your spells. You have a limit on spells you can use. That shield is your attack. There are no enemies right now on the screen, so I can't attack any enemies. There's also different buttons like the key. You can use that to unlock, to collect items, unlock different things. It's coin bag. Every once in a while, if you hit that, you can find random gold coins, so that's always good. This is my inventory. Right now, I don't have much because the game has just started, but as you purchase weapons and stuff, that's how you can put those in your inventory. This is a closer look at the map itself. As you enter rooms, you can unlock the map and expand the map. Hit this and go back to your other character. So now I'm the dwarf. I got 8 spaces to move. And you got to make sure you can block. It's easy to block the other character, so you kind of have to switch back and forth. You can't go above, or you can't jump over the character, unfortunately, which is kind of a bummer. Moving on, this is a battle zone. You can see this is the screen. It's hard. As a wizard, you don't have much of a short range attack, unfortunately. and you miss a lot. Now with the board game, you have a whole bunch of die that you're supposed to roll, and there's different shields and skeletons and stuff like that, and that's kind of how you determine who's what. But this is more of a random element to it through this game. Now I can determine which character I'm going to use a fire spell, and I consumed the character. There's no graphics or anything to show him going up in flames, which is unfortunate. The thing about this game is the graphics are very bland. I mean, the colors, the use of colors, there seems to be a lot of brown. You know, it's like 4 or 5 different colors. I think they could have probably done a lot more with this game, but as I mentioned before, this game is unpolished, not yet finished. You'd be careful about situations like this, though, because you can enter into random rooms, and there's various enemies, and there's no way knowing there until you go to the room. Unfortunately, I'm the dwarf, and you can see the arm in the top left corner of the screen. That's my how many hit points I have left. I also have a shield. Also in the top right corner shows you my coins I have and items. See if I can get the wizard to help out a little bit with the dwarf. Unfortunately, he's blocking the doorway, and I can't go anywhere. So basically, you can kind of see the idea is just to defeat every enemy in a room, and you can unlock different items. There's hidden passages, different weapons and upgrades you can get throughout the game. So once you defeat all the maps, you can go to the final map and defeat Zorgon. But you can play each map at random. You don't necessarily have to go in order. This is a password type game, meaning that there's no save slate. It's all driven by passwords. So once you pass a level, give you a password, you can enter it in at the main menu. I think this game has certainly a lot of potential. Unfortunately, it's not complete. They could have done a lot better with the graphics, but I think it's a good idea to trying to make this into a video game. But I definitely prefer the original adventure board game because it's just a lot of fun. Can't recommend enough. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you guys soon. Happy gaming. Take care.